am very grateful for your time. This is a topic that I'm very passionate about. Professional development, personal development, mental health, academic development, anything about making yourself the best version of yourself. That's what I'm into. That's what really gets me going. So what's the purpose of my presentation today? Sandra said I had the ability to talk about anything I wanted to talk about. It doesn't necessarily have to be about mental health, but obviously as a mental health therapist, I'm going to bring that stuff up. So this right here, this is what I believe the whole point of my presentation is, and that's what I want you to get out of it, is that college life or life in general or college in general is already difficult as it is, right? So, and it's especially difficult for non-traditional students or students from low socioeconomic backgrounds or students that are, minorities or however you want to look at it. It's already difficult. It doesn't even if you don't have any of those issues, it's already difficult. So there's no sense in making it harder, okay? And what I hope to do after we talk about all this is for y'all to learn ways to make college a little bit less difficult, and that'll, I think, improve your happiness and your well-being, okay? So I was able to Wikipedia a little bit about you, and so I guess it's only fair for y'all to learn a little bit about me. So let me do a quick introduction. That way you can know, what's my, where did Sandra find this guy? Who is this? You just get some dude off the street and said, hey, watch a couple YouTube videos and come talk to my class about something. I would like to think that's not the truth. I would like to think that I know what I'm talking about a little bit. So, if you don't mind, let me go over a few reasons why I think I'm worth listening to, and then hopefully you can decide if I am afterwards. So first of all, even though I had to Wikipedia this, I am a product of Trio. I am very familiar with Trio. So when I first started school, I think the second semester in my freshman year, I got connected with Student Support Services. So that's another program. If any of you are interested in getting into, I would definitely suggest that you do so. They have lots of grants and they lend out books and they do all kinds of stuff to help students. So if you qualify, I would definitely suggest that. I also worked for Trio as a work study. I actually worked at the SSS office and kind of helped people in the computer lab. Then a few years later, I got admitted into the Ronald E. McNair Scholars Program. And for any of you that are wanting to get your master's or doctorate, I would strongly encourage for you to be a part of that. And then on top of that, after I've received my master's and it was time for me to do my internship, I interned for the Educational Opportunities Center at Henderson State University. So it's safe to say that based on my resume at least, that I know a little bit about Trio. I've never worked for them like how Sandra does, but Carlton, I believe. But I do know a little bit about Trio. So I think I can talk on those matters a little bit. I'm also the assistant director of the counseling center here at the university. So if you have any mental health issues or you have any friends that have any, I would love for you to send them my way because I'm a licensed therapist and I have over 10 years of experience in that, not including my educational experience. You include my educational experience, you're looking at almost 20 years of experience. So once again, I believe I know what I'm talking about when it comes to that. On top of that, I'm working on my doctorate in higher education. So I have a good understanding of higher education as an institution. Just at UALR right now, yes. But they have a counseling center at Pulaski Tech as well. I'm also a student working on my doctorate currently, and I'm almost done with it. So not only do I have an understanding of college in general and how to help people with college or student affairs, I also have a good understanding of UALR because I've been here for 10 years and am a student. So I've used a lot of the resources that you're going to use one day, or I hope that you take advantage of. On top of that, I'm a first generation student, how many of you are first generation students? That means that neither of your parents completed college. Okay, good. So most of us, so I can definitely know how you feel when it comes to that. I have that lived experience. And also, I'm a first generation American. I don't know how many of you have immigrants as parents, but that's another So you could say that those things, I know a little bit about the disadvantaged background because I experienced it, I work on it. It's actually like my mission in life. You know, that's one of my purposes, is to help people that ordinarily don't do well in college do well in college. Now, why do these people not do, like such as yourself and myself, why do we tend to not do well in college? Is it because we're stupid, or we're not smart, or we're not? I don't believe it has it. Now, maybe some of us are, but for the most part, no. I do not think that any of that is the reason. I think the main reason is, just like anything else, there's a learning curve to anything that you do is new. Yeah, confidence level is definitely one. Feeling like you belong here. Anything that's new, like a forklift. Anyone here, if I taught you how to drive a forklift, or you saw someone driving a forklift, you could probably get the hang of it, right? Or a bicycle. If you've never ridden a bicycle before, and I just throw you on top of one, you're gonna fumble through it. You're gonna, fall off it a couple of times. So that's the advantage that people that have family members that have went to college have. One, they have a financial advantage over us, right? So I don't know about y'all, but it's way easier when you need money to be able to make a phone call to your parents, and then they've PayPal'd you some money. Now, I don't know about y'all, but when I was, even though my parents would have loved to do something like that for me and they would have supported me any way they could, I come from a low socioeconomic background. That's a fancy way of saying that we grew up with not a lot of money around, which you could see that would add another level of difficulty. Also, people that their parents went to college, or having a better understanding of college, they can call their parents and be like, hey, this is not working out. How do I do this? Or how do I sign up for a scholarship? Or how do I do? And then their parents can walk them through it. But my parents weren't even born in this country. So that's already a disadvantage there. And then on top of that, they never went to college. So how would they be able to answer? Like, if I'm like, hey, where's the financial aid office? Or how do I fill out a FAFSA? As much as my father would have loved to help me with that stuff, there's no way he could have, because he just didn't know. So, like I said before, I guess, and let me give you a quick, kind of like a quick give you a quick understanding of my background. So, as I said before, my father is an immigrant. Both of my parents are actually immigrants, and they immigrated to here from Iran. Do any of you know where Iran is? It's in the Middle East. Okay, so they came here a long time ago, and my dad came here for educational opportunity. In Iran, there's not many universities, and so basically who gets to go to university in Iran is the families that have a lot of money, or some people that are extremely smart. So by extremely smart, I mean like the top 5% or top 10% of the population. And Iran has a population of 80 million. So you can imagine there's not enough space for everyone to come to the colleges. So he came here to try to get that opportunity. And his plan was to come here, get that opportunity, and then take what he learned from here to go back to his country and be able to have a good life. And as many of you adults know, sometimes life doesn't go how you plan it, right? Sometimes, obviously, you can tell his plan didn't go according to plan, because I'm here talking to you instead of talking to some Iranian students over there. And the reason that it didn't work out is not too long after I was born. So first of all, I was born, which I don't know if any of you are parents. That's another disadvantage. Wouldn't you say it's way harder to be a parent and go to school at the same time than if you weren't a parent? Not that you can't do it, not that it's not possible, but it adds a level of difficulty. So I was born, and not too long after I was born, my biological mother passed away from colon cancer. So that created all kinds of issues for him, as you can imagine, and he had to drop out of school, and he was going to plan to go back. But once again, things outside of his control occurred, and I don't know how many of you are history buffs over here, but Iran went through a very nasty revolution, and there was a lot of political unrest. There was that hostage situation that happened in the 80s. So his dad told him, do not come up here. It is horrible up here right now. It's better for you to stay out there and figure it out over there. So he didn't have a good understanding of the English language. He came here not speaking English and only had one suitcase, so he had to, make it the best he could. And now he's a single dad on top of all that, and he dropped out of school. So you can imagine someone having those life experiences, the way he would raise his son is he really, really emphasized the importance of education to me and hard work, because he was constantly passed over for any kind of opportunities at his job because he didn't have a good understanding of the English language and he didn't have a good education. That makes sense. So growing up that way, like any of you, you don't even have to be Sigmund Freud to know this. If you grow up feeling like there's a big thing missing out of your life, that thing is going to be very important to you. So to him, it was education. To me, it was education and money. So ever since then, I've been obsessed with the economy. I'm like a nerd. Like while other people are Twittering and Tindering or whatever you kids do for fun, which there's nothing wrong with any of that. I'm just messing around. I like to look up economical news. Let me share my screen. Let me share. So tell me if this works. Can I pick both? No, it won't let me pick both. Okay, so let's look at some economic news for right now. These are the headlines. Tell me if these sound good or not to you. IMF slashes world growth outlook for 2020 and sees sluggish turnaround next year. IMF, that's the International Monetary Fund, very important group, predicts deeper global downturn and even as economies reopen. Recession is much worse than ever. I mean, just every single thing. Fed expects unemployment rates to stay high. Economic impact of coronavirus is dire everywhere. Global CFOs more negative on economy and expect big coronavirus hit their companies in a 2020 survey. I don't know if y'all are probably not economy or labor market nerds like me. Ray Dalio is a very, I mean, when this man speaks about the economy, you need to listen because this guy knows what he's talking about. And him and a lot of his colleagues are saying that we're probably entering a depression. And I don't know how much y'all know about depressions and recessions. Basically what a recession is when for 2 quarters, so 6 months, there's a downturn in GDP. And GDP is just all the economy that occurs in a country. It's the gross domestic product, okay? I'm gonna not get too technical here because I know y'all probably don't like this stuff as much as I do. So as excited as I am about it, y'all are probably gonna glaze. That's why I want to see your faces, so I know if I'm boring you or not. And if I'm boring you, let me know and I'll skip this stuff. But I think it's important for you to realize. These guys are all kind of saying the same things. Like and I don't know if y'all have studied the 1920s, the Great Depression. It was a very difficult time. I mean, there was like double-digit unemployment rates. Getting jobs were hard to find. I mean, it was very, very rough. If y'all have grandparents that lived through it, I'm sure you've heard some stories on, I mean, they saved everything back then. Like you couldn't I mean, things were just not very abundant like they are not too long ago. So is that something to be scared of? Should we be scared of a recession? I think it's something to be concerned about, something to think about. But let's look at history, and history is good to look at. So can you see this list of recessions? Is that in front of y'all right now? Okay, so this is the very recent one, started in February 2020, and it's going on still right now. Some argue that it's going to go on for a while, for a few years. So here's the last one, 2009. Most of y'all remember that, right? Everyone here is old enough to. That was rough. That's when I graduated with my master's. Okay, so I went into the so let's see how much you guys know about this. Do you think going into the job market in a recession is a good thing or a bad thing? If the economy is shrinking, is that a good time to be trying to look for a job? No, right? That is a very hard, rough time, especially now with 40 million people unemployed right now. I mean, there is a lot of competition, labor. So it's like a supply and demand thing, right? And if you study business, you'll know there's a high supply of workers, but a low demand for wanting to hire them. So you can see, so that would make wages and all that lower, right? So it's just not as needed. That makes perfect sense. That's what. So like, for you ladies, like, why are Louis Vuitton purses worth a lot of money? Is it because they're special somehow? Kind of. It's mostly because of brand recognition. That's mostly it. But another huge reason is scarcity. If they made billions of Louis Vuitton purses or red bottom shoes or whatever, or Bentleys or anything like, or Jordan rookie cards, would anyone want them? No. The whole reason that they're valuable and people spend more for it just like in a job, that's why people at McDonald's get paid less than people at other places. Anything that is there's a less of a need for, and there's like an abundance of supply, there's going to be less of a demand for. That's just common sense, okay? So, and then here's the one before that. This was the dot-com bubble and 9/11, and that was in 2001. That's when I graduated high school in 2002. So you can see I've been kind of every time I finish a milestone. So right now I'm going to graduate in December 2020 with my doctorate, and bam, here's another recession for me. So but I'm not, making excuses. I'm just letting you know. This is just a matter of fact. So 91, 81, 60. Do y'all see a pattern here? Is there anything y'all, can someone type in here or say it to me? What are y'all noticing? I know y'all are a smart bunch, so you could probably pick out patterns. Don't be scared. Yeah, we always have them, and they seem to happen how often? How often do they seem to happen? Seems like every 7 to 10 years. Look at, yeah, so they seem to happen pretty regularly, and we do bounce back from them, all right? So it's a normal cyclical thing that occurs, so it's nothing to be terrified about, but it is something important to look into. On top of the economy and what Ray Dalio says, we have political unrest news. I mean, right? Y'all have been seeing the news with the riots and the looting and the this and the that and the protests. There's all kinds of craziness going on here. And then we haven't even mentioned this. There's like a pandemic going on, which also they happen quite a bit too. We've had these in the past, all throughout history. We've had these, and all these things that are not in our control, we've had them all throughout history, but we're just experiencing a confluent, all of them right now at the same time, and that's what's making the world seem so chaotic. So back to my presentation. All right, is my presentation back up? Okay, so this is kind of the economic trends that are going on. Bad economic forecast, horrible headlines, recession, possible depression, not many job opportunities. Actually, I wanted to show you that too. Let me show you that. And I know Sandra's like, man, you were supposed to come and be motivated. Like, what? This is not what I expected. I'm working up to it. Give me some time. Okay, look at this. So if any of you are wondering, am I making a good decision going to college right now? I don't know if any of you are wondering that, but just in case you were, and if you're wondering whether you should finish or not, look at this chart right here. This is the unemployment rate, and this is the job openings. Remember I talked about supply and demand? Look at this spike right here. Look, these are how many people are looking for a job, and this red line right here is how many jobs are open to people. Look at this number. There are 4.6 unemployed workers for every job available. For every job available. So there's not even enough jobs to go around. So just keep that in mind. This is a fact. This is not something I'm making up to scare you. This is just a fact. So in a situation like this, isn't it in your best interest to get as many skills as possible so you can separate yourself from the average person? Can I have a shake yes if you agree? Okay. So we're going to talk about such skills here in a little bit. So in chaotic times like this, the best thing to do for your mental health and your overall well-being is to focus on what you have the most control over and put all your attention into that. I think the Serenity Prayer talks about that. And for those of you that are have that religious background. But these aren't my ideas. Like I said, you can find that stuff like that in the Bible or almost all the books have that. And then also, even before that, 2,500 years ago, Epictetus says this: we should always be asking ourselves, is this something that is or is not in my control? This is such an important thing to do, and especially now. This is more true now than ever. But it just goes to show, this is some ancient wisdom right here. 2,500 years ago, this was said, and to this day, I mean, more than ever, it's super important right now to look at. So I'm talking about what's absolutely in your control. So there's three things. Everything goes into three categories: absolutely in your control, sort of in your control, absolutely not in your control. Let's forget the middle one. Let's just forget the middle one, and let's focus now on what's absolutely up to us and what's absolutely not up to us. So what's within our power, what's not within our power. So what's not up to us? Well, the family you were born in, being from that disadvantaged background, that you do not have a choice in what family you were born into, right? You have, so any external events, it's not about what happens to us. Like this shutdown right now, that's not what y'all were planning a while back ago. When you were starting college, none of y'all said, man, I'm gonna have to do everything online. There's gonna be all these weird rules. There's gonna be all this crazy stuff. You can be mad about it all you want. It's not gonna change it. It's still happening. You're still gonna have to deal with it. I don't like to do Zoom presentations, but if I wanna do this, if I wanna present to y'all, which I like to, I have to use Zoom. I mean, that's just a smaller example. Your reputation. That you might be like, no, I could be nice and stuff. No, some people are just going to hate you or not like you for no apparent reason. There's nothing you can do about that. Our property. You're like, well, yeah, I could defend my property. I could put, Vivid and or Ring no, if someone wants to steal from you, they can steal from you. Our possessions, our status, these things are not up to us completely. They're not completely within our control. The actions of others, whether you have some like flat tire or something like that while you're working through school and you're late to class, the opinions of others. So basically anything outside of us, not in our control. And I know I'm like, man, this guy is a horrible motivational speaker. but luckily there's tons of things that are completely up to us. And that's everything that's internal. Our reactions to outside events, believe it or not, bad things can happen to you and you can still have a positive attitude. It takes some development. You have to work at it. You have to work on your thinking, but it is completely up to you. Our effort, how much effort you decide to put in, that is completely up to you. Our actions, our attitude, our beliefs, our choices. You're making the choice right now to come to college. That is a very smart choice, and no one can make you do it. So whenever you're like, oh, I have this test to do, or I have all this stuff going on, which you're gonna, trust me, you're gonna get hit hard with some of these things, or I have to take these online classes. Let's change that wording. You're choosing to. You don't have to do anything. All of y'all can not be here. It's very important how you talk to yourself. That's what I want. If you pick up anything from what I'm talking about today, it is very important the things we say to ourselves. Our habits, that's completely in our control. And most importantly, our mindset. And I'm going to get to this later. Our mindset is in our control. And having this mindset of like, I'm going to put all my attention towards what's in my control and what's not, is such a healthier way to look at the world, and is a way better, I call it an operating system. It is just way better to go into the world like that than to be like bent, like that's like crying over it raining or something like that, or like getting all mad, or there's no point. You're just causing yourself suffering. So why is this important? Why should you listen to this? Well, not understanding this concept causes two ways of suffering, and that's what I'm all about, trying to limit suffering. When you focus on things you can't control, you risk feeling powerless, defeated, frustrated, discouraged, and ineffective. Is that going to be good for y'all? We already talked, college is already hard as it is. Is having that attitude going to be good for you while you're coming to college? Like getting all discouraged and bent out of shape when bad things happen? Obviously not, right? But on the flip side, when you don't take ownership of what is completely under control, this lack of responsibility means that we don't leverage what's in our power to change. And as a result, we stay stuck in the same bad situation we find ourselves in. So it is so important. So I think up here, you can't see it. I have a huge picture of Albert Einstein facing me. And it's there as a reminder for one of his most famous quotes is, doing the same things over and over again and expecting a different result is the definition of insanity. And what I want to make sure is none of you fall into that pattern. And we all have, look, we all have faulty beliefs that we have, whether it's something like, oh, I don't belong in college, or I'm not smart enough, or we all have these weird beliefs that do not serve us, that we need to let go. And hopefully after the end of my presentation, I can convince understands physical energy, right? So how many of you have exercised or like ran a mile or we can't hear? You are back. Okay. Can you hear me now? Okay. So everyone understands physical energy, right? Like if you're running a bunch of laps or whatever, you get physically drained and you get tired, right? Say yes here if you get that, or okay, so y'all get that concept. Well, something that people don't understand is the concept of mental energy or emotional energy. Yes, it does expend energy. And when you're focusing on things that you have no control over, like getting sad over stuff that is in the, that you can't do anything or manage, you are actually drained. We only have so much energy in a day. So just like physical energy, mental energy is finite. You only have so much. So have any of you ever taken like a really hard test or have went through a really emotional breakup or really grieving, and you felt like you didn't move around or anything like that, but you were like just drained, like completely exhausted, and you didn't even run or do weights or nothing? Has that happened? Can I get a yes or a thumbs? Okay, just keep that in mind, that you can expend your mental energy. Yeah, yeah. And focusing on things that cannot be changed is incredibly draining. So if you only have so much energy in a day and so many hours in a day, and you're pouring if you find that you're continuously pouring all your energy into things that are absolutely not in your control, you can see how you're gonna get frustrated. You're gonna be upset. You're not gonna be very effective. You're not gonna be very productive. So one thing I tell people, and once again, this is not my idea. This is Bruce Lee's idea. Is or this is a question: Are you going to experience difficulties in the next 4 years? That's something I talked to. Surely all of y'all know that bad things are going to happen to you, right? All of you, you're going to fail a test, or you're not going to do well. Maybe some of y'all are like super great students or whatever, but something is going to punch you in the mouth. I don't know. It's going to come out of nowhere, and it's going to just flip your world upside down, and it's going to make life harder. I think it's a waste of a wish to wish for life to get easy. That's not going to happen. That's just not going to happen. And Bruce Lee, I think he puts it so well right here. Do not wish for an easy life. Wish for the strength to endure a difficult one. So that just makes perfect sense, but sometimes we don't really think of it like that. I want you to look at it as like filling a pitcher. So I have a pitcher right here. Can you see my screen? I have you can't see my screen? Okay. I mean, see my video. Can you see this pitcher water bottle I'm holding? Okay, well, don't worry about it. Anyways, I want you to imagine a pitcher of water, and let's pretend that pitcher of water is your energy. And you're going around, and if you have kids, you're pouring energy into your kids. You're pouring energy into your schoolwork. You're pouring energy. How many of you have a job? Do a lot of you have a job of some sort? Yes? No? Okay, let's say you have a job or something like that, or we have all these things around us. We have friends, social obligations. We have tons of things, and we're pouring our energy into those things and pouring ourselves into them and helping our friends out, helping our family out. But one thing I find that a lot of us don't do is make sure that we refill that pitcher, like refill that energy. And you do that through self-care and other things that I'm going to discuss in a minute. And it's so important to do that, especially when we're going through challenging times right now. You want to focus on the things that you have power over. We already talked about that. You want to build up some skills that will make you more resilient so you can meet the challenges head on. And this resiliency, I'm going to show you that mindset. I'm going to talk to you about how to develop that. And yes, that is something you can develop and get better at through time. And then you want to develop a healthy mindset and better habits. Okay, and it's more important now to like make sure you're getting plenty of sleep, eating right, and all that, which I'm going to go into more here in a little bit too. So I'm going to play this short video for you. This is perhaps one of the most important books out there. Like if I could get every student to read this book or listen to it for free, I would definitely encourage them to do so. So let me share my web browser real quick. All right, is my browser up now? Okay. And let me know if the audio works. Can you hear it?
When I was young, I always felt like I was being judged. At the age of 7, I had developed a severe stutter, and I feared that I might not be as smart as the other kids in my class. In school, I had one all-consuming goal: don't look stupid. In my head, I'd always be thinking, what are the chances that I'm going to stutter and look stupid in this situation? If the chances were high, then I would do anything I could to avoid that situation. It wasn't until I read the book Mindset by Carol Dweck that I really understood my constant fear of judgment. In the book Mindset, author and renowned psychologist Carol Dweck explains that the constant fear of judgment and the need to avoid looking stupid stems from a core belief people have about themselves and everyone around them. That belief is everyone has a set amount of intelligence. From that belief, the logic goes, if I only have a fixed amount of intelligence, and if I start making mistakes and look stupid doing something, then I must not have very much intelligence. Dweck calls this underlying belief a fixed mindset. If you have a fixed mindset, you essentially believe you've been dealt a hand of cards in the poker game of life, and you're stuck with those cards. If you happen to get good grades in school, and your parents praise you for it, then you might start to believe you've been dealt a royal flush. But as you get older and face competition in school, make mistakes on tests, and encounter challenging situations, you start fearing that the hand you've been dealt really isn't that good. To maintain the illusion that you're still smart and special and talented, you avoid doing anything that you might look bad at, and you simply lose interest and stop trying. Because if you show that you don't care and you're not really trying, then people can't really judge your full ability. Author Carol Dweck has seen this pattern emerge over and over again in her research. In one study, she gave fifth graders a group of puzzles to solve. Each of the puzzles was within their current puzzle-solving ability, and all the kids loved them. But when she increased the difficulty of the puzzles, the children who had been praised for their puzzle-solving ability and developed the belief that they were gifted showed a steep decline in interest and effort as the puzzles got harder. However, Dweck found that there was another group of children who didn't shy away from the puzzles once they got harder. When Carol asked them why, they said the puzzles were an opportunity for them to get smarter. These kids took the initiative and asked Carol Dweck if she could write down the names of some of the puzzles so their mom could buy more when they got home. These kids had what Carol Dweck calls a growth mindset. Growth mindset people don't believe talent and intelligence is a gift. They believe you have to work for it. A person with a growth mindset firmly believes that with the right strategy and enough effort and time, they can get better at anything. A growth mindset person believes they're always getting smarter, so they're less afraid of being labeled stupid. They know that even if they've been dealt a bad hand in the poker game of life, they can continue to draw more cards by putting in more effort and finding better strategies until they eventually have a great hand of cards. Now, this growth mindset seems inspiring. It seems cool to be able to grow our intelligence, but is it actually true? Well, 40 years ago, the answer would be no. Scientists at the time thought you could grow a little, but you were largely constrained by the default wiring of your brain. But recent science shows that they were mistaken. Based on other books I've read over the years, I've learned 3 amazing ways you can change your brain. Regardless of how old you are, you can physically grow your brain, you can speed up the circuits in your brain, and you can rewire your brain for increased performance and intelligence on specific tasks. Several years ago, before taxi drivers used GPS to get around, brain researchers took brain imaging scans of experienced London taxi drivers. Researchers noticed that the more time a London taxi driver had spent driving a taxi in London, the larger a region of the brain associated with spatial awareness and memory, the hippocampus, had become. It was apparent that the more demands the taxi drivers put on their brains, the more they had to navigate the challenging road system of London, the more neurons they were able to grow in an area of the brain that they needed to complete their job. But not all brain regions can expand in size. So, other brain regions just make circuits faster. This is done by the process of myelination. As I briefly touched on in my deep work book summary, when you focus intensely on a single subject for a period of time, you start forming white sheaths on your brain cells called myelin. This myelin acts like insulation on an electric circuit. A brain circuit with myelin can transmit information up to 10 times faster than a brain circuit without myelin. After you've added as much myelin as you can to brain cells, you can then increase the capacity of your brain by rewiring it so it activates neighboring brain regions to assist with certain tasks. You can think of this like rewiring a house, so that when you hit a switch to turn on one light, you actually turn on 2 or 3 additional lights nearby. One study showed that when a person practices guitar for hundreds of hours and uses their fingers in their left hand to play the different notes on the strings of the guitar, they light up regions of their brain associated with the left fingers, no surprise. But they also light up regions of the brain associated with the palm of the left hand. When researchers took brain scans of novice guitar players, only the fingers in the left hand were activated in the brain. It turns out that guitar players who had put in hundreds of hours of practice were able to activate more of their brain so they could play the guitar with more speed and accuracy. Now that I know that I can grow my brain's capacity, I think about challenges in a new way. Before I go into a challenge, I stop thinking, will I look smart or stupid while doing this? And start thinking, what can I learn? After a difficult challenge and a series of mistakes, I stop thinking, I'm not smart enough to do this, and start thinking, I'm not smart enough to do this yet. Now that I've changed my core belief to everyone can grow their cognitive abilities, I am less afraid of being stupid because I know I am continuously getting smarter. Even if I look stupid now, I won't look stupid very long if I apply enough effort and the right strategies. I now have the courage and confidence to go into challenging situations because those situations will allow me to upgrade my brain and learn the skills to overcome future challenges. That was the core message that I gathered from Mindset by author Carol Dweck. Reading this book will set you on the path to becoming an infinite learner. I highly recommend it. If you
All right. Hopefully y'all got some something out of that video. To me, I don't know. That's probably one of the best books you can find out there. I would encourage everyone to read it and practice the things that it talks about. For those of you that are on a budget, you can get it for free on YouTube. It's just an 8-hour. You can just listen to it while you're driving or taking a walk. You might as well just, listen to it and learn from it, especially if it doesn't cost anything. So I would strongly advise it. Let me get back to the other screen. So the things we tell ourselves are super important. I guess that's the whole point of what I'm trying to tell you today. The things we tell ourselves are super important. One thing that I find a lot of first generation students do, and I do the same thing, I did the same thing until I learned better, is this idea of asking for help or being independent, or I don't want my professor to think I'm dumb, so I'm not gonna ask, or I don't want people to think. That is such a limiting belief. Like, that is such a bad belief. And one other thing that I hear a lot of students do is like, oh, I don't want to go ask for help from anyone, like the financial aid people or me or like a counselor. I don't want to burden them. Listen, do you know how much it costs to talk to someone like me? I'm not here to try to brag, but as a licensed therapist, it costs $120 to $150. That's what insurance will reimburse me at an hour. Do you know how much it will cost for one of you when you become students here or you're enrolled to talk to me? Most people say free. That's what they say. That is the wrong answer. That is not correct. You have already paid me. So whether you come or not, whether you go to financial aid or not, whether you talk to Carlton or Sandra or not, we get paid anyway. I mean, so like that's like if you need our help and you just don't want to go get it for your pride or whatever reason, you are just doing yourself such a huge disservice. I don't even know what to say about that. It's just not. That is not a recipe for success, in my opinion. So I used to feel like I'm supposed to know how to. Yes, exactly, and that's just not the right way to look at it. That's a good point, Erica. And I would really encourage all of you to that's a limiting belief. That is not a good belief, and that's one I would just throw away or practice throwing away as quickly as possible. And you do that by asking for help, just like you would do a bicycle. You do it by getting on a bicycle and learning until finally it just comes like second nature. And some of you probably haven't ridden a bike in years, but if you've already learned how to ride one, if I put you on a bicycle, you'll be able to ride it, correct? Okay. So what are some other, so now that we're developing our mindset and trying to tell ourselves better messages, what would I have liked for you to learn from this? Well, I want you to all practice self-care. Every day I want you all to try to do something, even if it's just 15, 20, 30 minutes, whether it's taking a walk, whatever. Every once in a while we need to be able to turn off our brains and just relax. And I know a lot of people are like, I don't have time for that. I'm working. It's actually you'll be more, I know it sounds not intuitive, but you'll be more productive the better you take care of yourself. So I know a lot of people like go and get junk food or that to save time so they can, it's actually counterproductive to do that. If you do if you make sure you get enough sleep, if you make sure you do all these good habits, you'll actually have more energy to tackle these challenges as you come. And it all goes back down to what I said. It goes back to the beliefs that you tell yourself. That's what it comes down to. And you don't even have to that's like scientifically proven, but you don't even need to like look at the articles to believe that. Just look at what companies do. So other than like paying their employees, what do companies, like the major ones, what do they spend their most money on? What does Nike spend a ton of money on? What does Starbucks spend a ton of money on? McDonald's, or y'all know? Can I get something on the chat? Yes, there we go. There we go. Is it Jeanette? Yeah, definitely. Advertising. There's a reason they spend a lot of money on that. So I think in 2018, Nike made $24 billion in revenue. And of the $24 billion in revenue, they spent $4 billion with a B, $4 billion on advertisement. That's $100 a second. Now, Nike's not a stupid company. Starbucks is not a stupid company. US banks, they're not stupid. They wouldn't waste money. They're companies. Their whole purpose is to make money for their shareholders. So they're not going to just throw money away. The reason that they do advertising is because it works. If you tell someone over and over again that Coca-Cola is better than whatever, even if it's not, and that's something I want y'all all to learn. Even if something is a lie, if it is repeated to you often enough and loud enough, even if you do it to yourself, you will believe it. So if you tell yourself you don't belong here, or I'm not smart enough to do this, or calculus is too hard for me, I need to just drop out, or even if it's true, it doesn't matter. Like, you are going to believe it. Even if it's not true, you're going to believe it. Even if let's say it's true, what use does it do to believe that? It's just going to discourage you and make you not try. So the better thing to do is like, well, I'm not good at calculus yet, or I'm not good at such and such yet. However, I'm going to ask for help, or I'm going to do the research, or I'm going to do the whatever I need to do to get better at it. And that is a way better way to live than to always have stinking thinking, is what they call it, and just telling yourself all these things that don't do you any good. So one thing I'm going to leave you with, and then I'll make some time for questions if you have any, is where do we go from here? So let's go back to my browser. And this is something I would strongly encourage everyone to do. So people believe that some people naturally born happier than others? Yes, I do believe that there's a biological component to it, but it only makes up 40% of it, or 50% from the studies that I've seen. Actually, there's a lot you can do that you have control over yourself to be happier. A happier person, a healthier person. And these are backed by science. This isn't someone's views or beliefs. These have been proven in tons of studies. So one thing is more physical exercise. All of you, I would encourage all of you to try to make time at least 3 times a week to get movement. Like, just start moving. You don't have to do like hardcore weights and be a power lifter. Just get moving, and you'll find that you will be way happier, a lot less stressed. I think I saw a study out there that said that 30 minutes of a brisk walk is equal to 1 Prozac, which is an antidepressant. So if there was a way for scientists to make a pill that would mimic what exercising does for you, that would be like $1 billion pill. I mean, that would be one of the most highly sought out medications out there. Unfortunately, the technology hasn't gotten there yet. So what we need to do is make sure we make time for exercise. That's like one of the best things you can do. Get more quality sleep. There's a reason we have to sleep. Our brains need rest. We need to shut down. That's when a lot of growth and resetting occurs. A lot of college students, you know, they have this issue where they stay up late and they have very bad sleep hygiene. that is something I would encourage all y'all to work on. Set a bedtime, set a time to wake up, and try to do it repeatedly, and you will find that you'll be healthier if you do so. Put down your cell phone. They've done tons of studies on this already. Social media, as much as it helps you connect and all that, or media in general, it actually has been linked to depression because of all the kind of negative stuff you see out there, and also all the positive stuff. Like, most people on Instagram don't put pictures of themselves crying up, right? If you look at people's pictures, it's usually like, if you saw my Facebook right now, you would think, man, does this dude do anything other than go on vacation? Because the only time I take pictures is on vacation usually, and that's all you'll see. But in reality, I don't go on vacation as often as it would seem on Facebook. So sometimes when people see other people happy all the time and all this, it creates this comparison, and comparison is the enemy of happiness. Like, when you're constantly comparing yourself to others, that is the worst thing you can do for yourself, as far as one of the worst things for sure. So I would put the cell phone down every once in a while. And I would talk to people in person. I know that's harder these days with what's going on, but what's going on right now is not going to happen forever. So one thing, like I said, I'm a nerd. So I looked up, what do people say on their deathbed? I would encourage all y'all to look this up. Look up, like, older people that are about to die. What are their thoughts at the end of life? And you would be shocked. They surveyed these people, and they've done tons of studies. They've done this study. It's the Harvard study. It was a 75-year, it was the longest longitudinal study. They would give a survey to this group of people every year for 75 years in a row, the same people, to kind of find out what views they can, or what these people said throughout life. And whenever you talk to these people on their deathbed, or you look at these studies that kind of deal with this, no one ever says, I wish I would have made more money. I wish I would have worked harder. I wish I would have had this or that, or I wish I would have bought this car or something like that. Everyone says, I wish I would have spent more time with my family. I wish I would have taken more risks. I wish I would have developed more skills. It's always stuff like that. So there's something we can learn from that. Let's learn something from these older people that say these things. So I think there's a lot of truth in them, because they've consistently come back with the same stuff. Relationships have been proven to be a bigger source of happiness than money or these other things that we tend to think will bring happiness. Spend more time outdoors. I see one of y'all doing that right now, especially for us that are darker complected. We don't absorb vitamin D as well due to our darker skin. So going out into the sun, it gives you serotonin and all the other neurotransmitters that are linked to happiness. So I would encourage all of you to try to go outside and get in the sun as much as you can. But obviously wear sunblock and all that if you're fair skin and all that. Help others for 2 hours a week, and also receiving help. So we're social beings. Don't you notice when you do something good for someone, you feel good too? There's a reason we have that system. I think that's something we need to pay attention to. Why are we built that way? And it's because it's important. And I feel like a lot of us, we so badly want to be independent, or feel like we have a limiting belief of, like, I need to do everything by myself. Go look through history. Look at Martin Luther King. Look, anyone that you respect, anyone that you think was super successful, none of them did it by themselves. Not one person has done it completely on their own. You won't find it, because we need each other. Something as simple as a pencil. I'll encourage all of you to look it up. Something as simple as a pencil, like, that's a simple instrument, right? You know how many people have to work together to make a pencil? There's people mining the graphite somewhere. There's people mining the metal at the end. The rubber comes from certain trees and all these people have to work together to do something as simple as that. So think about more complicated things that you want, So it just baffles me when people have that view, because it's wrong. It's absolutely incorrect. It's factually incorrect. So I encourage all of you, when you need help, don't be scared to ask for it, and also try to help people too, and you will find that you'll be happier. Meditation. This is something a lot of people don't do. In the 1940s, if you saw someone running outside, you'd be like, hey, what's chasing you? Why are you running? No, people just didn't know that running helped with your cardiovascular system, and it helped with losing weight and stuff like that. But kind of like back then, people thought cigarette smoking is fine. Well, we have learned now, the science is out. People that meditate or have less anxiety, they're happier, they're more productive. And that's because our brains are constantly racing with thought. There's always a stream of consciousness. Every once in a while, we have to practice kind of turning that down a bit and giving ourselves a break. Gratitude, incredibly important. It's almost impossible to feel grateful and sad at the same time. They're kind of opposites. So I would encourage all of you to, whenever you're feeling down, to try to think of 5 things that you're grateful for. I know that seems like a little silly thing that a therapist would ask you to do, but I'm telling you, it works. If you practice gratitude every day, you'll find that you'll be more resilient, a lot happier, and a lot less stressed. Spend money on experiences, not things. That's another thing that is on here, and there's been tons of studies on that. And then on this last one, even if you're not religious, spirituality doesn't mean religious, and you don't even have to believe in God necessarily. It's just believing in things that are bigger than yourself. And sometimes when we think of things outside of ourselves, it just really helps with happiness as well, and it puts things in perspective, you know, instead of like the world revolves around us.